couple of weeks ago I made a video about this car where I repaired the right rear passenger side power window, but it seems like it's power window repair month here at the Shadow Rider household, and this car is still in its shakedown phase. I'd had it just a little less than a year, and the driver's side rear window has some problems, but they seem to be electrical, and I wanted to lubricate the doors check straps all the way around anyway while I did the right rear door, and that gives me the opportunity to check some things out as well too. But let me show you what this window on this side is doing now, and it's going to be purely an electrical problem. So we'll go ahead and go to accessory position, and you'll see that the window will roll down just by hitting the switch, but I can't get it to go back up no matter what I do. Sometimes I can jimmy it. There it goes. It's kind of intermittent. Hopefully you can hear that. So, looks like we have some high resistance in the contacts of that switch. And over here, I've sourced a new part, genuine Mercedes-Benz power window switch, OEM replacement. And what I'll do is I'll show you guys how to get this wooden panel off without damaging it, and then replace these individual switches. I'm just going to do this one switch right here because that's the one that's bad. All these others are working okay. There's another problem with the power window switch in the back as well too, but it actually works, but it just doesn't have a good feel. I got to pull this door panel off anyway to do the door check straps, but hopefully you guys can hear the action on that switch. It's just a little sticky, doesn't have a good firm feel. So while I have to take this door panel off anyway to lubricate the door check straps, I'm going to go ahead and replace this switch with a genuine Mercedes-Benz part as well too. Just replace them all the way around. You can see how bright these contacts are on the new switch compared to the one over there from a couple weeks ago where the people that repaired it left the connector on halfway. So we'll make sure we get that right. And now that I've kind of been put on alert with these power windows, I noticed that this door right here may have been gotten into just like on the other side, because I see this, which is not supposed to be like that. So either that popped out on its own, or maybe somebody got in here to this door and did some stuff with the wiring. I'm not really quite sure yet, but I'll find out once I get this door panel off. And to do this switch, you don't really have to get the door panel off. You can pry under here and under here and pull that switch out. But I noticed when I had this apart last week on the other side, this switch was in here pretty tight, and there's just too much chance of marring up that finish with a screwdriver. So I think the best thing to do is to go ahead and just remove the whole panel assembly here with the door handle, not necessarily the whole door panel, and but just pull this whole thing out and then slide the switch out from behind where you don't have a chance of damaging that switch. And I'll get this door panel off and see what's going on inside, and see if I have another bad repair on this window that's fixing to go bad on me. And I don't think I'll make a video of that because that's going to be just pretty much like the video a couple of weeks ago, but if I do find something unusual in there, I'll definitely video that and share that with you guys. And I am prepared. I do have tons of these regulator jaws now. I got these for $12 for 6 of them versus $14 for one at the dealer. So it always helps to do some research online, but I can't really fault the dealer too much because they had that part in the nick of time, so I had to wait for about a week to get these parts, whereas the dealer just had them the same day, so you kind of get what you pay for. They were more expensive, but they had them and I was able to finish the job. But anyway, I'm going to start on the center panel right there first, and then kind of work my way backwards. And to get started on that, hopefully this video is not too jittery, I'm going to have to do a combination of things. I have a tripod over there, but just briefly I'll hold the camera and do what I can while I'm holding it. I'm going to put what you want to do first is move your gear selector down and then just kind of work this plastic bezel out first. This is just pressed in. It's kind of hard to do with one hand, but you want to be very careful not to bend the plastic and not to scratch that delicate wood. Okay, and you can see how that fits in. Goes in one way. You got wider clips on the front and narrower clips on the bottom, or toward the back. So we'll just go ahead and set that on the seat carefully. And now you've got some space here that you can work with. And the next thing that you want to do, now that you've gotten that plastic trim ring out of the way, is you're going to have to remove 2 screws in the ashtray. So you pull the ashtray all the way out. And I've got the gear selector all the way back to allow for just more working room. And we pull the ashtray out. The ashtray is in great shape because the car was never smoked in. So we'll set that aside. And you want to remove these 2 screws on the bottom because you want to pull this entire ashtray assembly out of the way. It always helps to have a magnetic screwdriver. And we'll just dump those screws on the carpet there. Don't want to lose track of them. Okay, and now you just want to work this whole ashtray assembly out. Careful not to damage your wood. And you can either take those wires out, or what I like to do is just kind of let it hang like that, so you have space in here. And now what you can do is get this change tray out. So that just lifts out of here, just like that. And we'll set that aside. And now what you can do with this wood is you can grab here and slide it forward, just like that. Taking out that trim ring gives you the space to do that. And now we can go ahead and lift the trim ring up, just being real careful not to scratch anything. And you can see all the wiring and the switch down there that I'm going to have to replace right there. It just snaps in. This is a plastic piece of trim with a wood overlay, and a lot of people end up prying up on that on the sides here and toward the back, and really mess up that wood, and you just don't want to do that. It actually comes out very easily, as you guys just have seen. But anyway, let me, this is going to take both hands now because I feel a lot of tension on these wires. Let me go ahead and get into this a little bit and replace that switch. I'll be right back. I love OEM parts. These parts are exactly identical. And my goal at a minimum is to, when I do these kinds of repairs, is to make it so it looks like I was never in there at a minimum, and then ultimately actually end up with improvements as I go along. So one of those is I went ahead and got the ash receiver totally removed from the car, and went ahead and lubricated the guide rails on both sides, because this thing was acting just a little bit too sticky. As I also lubricated that roller back there, which allows the actual power outlet to pop up. So this now feels like new, and I cleaned it up as well. And I just used the white lithium grease there. And I was a little bit mistaken earlier about this wood. There's actually more wood here than I thought there was. Looks like Mercedes changed the way they built the cars toward the latter years. This thing basically is solid wood. Went ahead and took the whole panel out of the car so you could see, and also make it easier to work on. And I wanted to clean it up as well too. As you can see through the cracks where the switches are, it's easy to attract dust and debris and things like that. And went ahead and blew out with compressed air all around on the top, around that rear view mirror, side mirror switches actually, and also the fader controls. That's all looking like new. And you can tell how delicate these things are. These pieces are solid wood, so if they get wet or anything like that, they're going to warp and just start looking bad. And even this piece up here is glued on, so you just have to be extremely careful. These switches mount in there with these little tabs, which I've actually lubricated a little bit with the silicone grease, and that's original to the car basically. That's what they used on these electrical contacts as well too. Hopefully you can see them, just to prevent moisture from getting in there. But it just gets held in with these plastic tabs, so you want to be extremely careful when you pull these things back, like over here with a screwdriver. Pull them back just enough to get that switch out of there, because this plastic, being old, tends to be brittle, and you don't want that piece to chip off. If it does, there's just no way to hold that switch in there anymore. And this is a high quality piece, but at the same time it's delicate, so I mean the plastic is just held in there by staples, as well as the holders that help it stay down. So that's why you don't want to pry up on this too bad. So I'm going to see if I can do this with one hand here. Make sure you have your switch oriented correctly, and the switch just pops into place just like that. Now we're all complete. Just replaced our switch. So now what I'm going to do is just dab a little bit of this silicone compound on some of the contacts, and go back into the car with it. Just wanted to show you guys briefly what the console looks like with the switch panel removed. I've got it all prepped up, ready for installation. Got the dielectric compound on the contacts on the new switch, and there's enough dielectric compound left on the remaining connectors to still provide adequate moisture protection. But that's what it looks like inside, and this has been a really good opportunity to do some deep down cleaning. So I got all inside these grooves right here with some cleaner, paper towel, and vacuumed all down in here and also down in here just to get the dust out of there. If you have any power window problems, one of the things you want to do basically is you could take this switch panel out and just measure for 12 volts on these feed wires, and just kind of work your way backwards if you don't have any voltage here. The other thing you can do to test for bad switches is you can bridge the connections together to kind of make your own little manual switch, and work your way the other way if you needed to. They're not too bad to troubleshoot, but they can be tricky. And you might also have a problem with the child safety switch as well too, which is what that connector is for. So anyway, the installation is going to be exactly the reverse of removal. It's just a matter of sliding these plugs back on the switch panel, and then the switch panel will go on here and slide back that way. Then the change tray will be put back in there, the ash receiver slid in, and the 2 screws for it installed, and that'll be about it. So let me go ahead and do that now, and then show the final result. Okay, that was pretty easy. It took about maybe 5 minutes. Got everything all cleaned up and put back together, and the ashtray feels nice and smooth now. So that's good. So let's go ahead and test this switch and see if we have good action on the window. Excellent. Okay, so that's the first part of the job, getting that out of the way, and that wasn't too easy. And now I'm going to get that rear door panel off and see what I got going on back in there and replace that switch. Well, I got the door panel off, and came off with a little bit more effort than last time. Blood, sweat, and tears. Well, not tears, just blood and sweat so far. But we've got the infamous electrical tape on the bottom. Now, there's nothing wrong with this power window, actually. It still works. But now that I've gone ahead and replaced the switches, I just want to peel this thing back and see what we got going on inside of there. And see if it's been repaired properly, if that's indeed what was the reason why they had this tape on here and somebody was in this door panel. And if it hasn't, I'm going to go ahead and do the same repair that I did a couple weeks ago. Oh, the horror, the humanity. You can see that this part, although it hasn't failed quite yet, has the same non-OEM quality repair on here. Let's just see how this works real quick with the new window switch. It's got a little bit of play in it, but that is just waiting to fail. So I'm going to go ahead and do what I did a couple of weeks ago, pull out this regulator and go through the same drill. I'm glad I got a whole bag of these regulator jaws, and that's just going to have to fit in there where this old repair is and peen down. And I've got the older parts from the other side sitting here on the seat, and I've got one of them taken apart. That's what it's supposed to look like. This thing rotates as it goes up. So what do you think is going to happen when you have this rough surface of the screw compared to this nice smooth bearing surface? What would happen inside of here is a ticking time bomb. What will happen is it's just going to wear through that plastic like it did before and spread out and fail on me at the most inopportune moment. So even though I don't have to fix this, I think it's a good idea to go ahead and fix this properly now, and that way I can fix it on my own terms instead of it breaking down and causing me to have to fix it on its terms. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and if you want to see how, you can watch the video that I made a couple of weeks ago with the same repair. It's going to be the same process where I just take out this regulator and use a hammer and mushroom out that end on this regulator arm, clean everything up, and then lubricate it. It looks like this window track is actually kind of dry, so another reason to get in here and make this thing right. And a word about the window switch. That was the easy part. Hopefully you can hear how this thing sounds. You'll hear a click right after the switch is released. There it goes. it's just really dried up in there. So that's all taken care of with the new switch. And now all I gotta do is just fix this nonsense before it breaks on me. Well, now I've got the regulator out. Same setup as before, where I can bench test it with a battery. And this time I have the luxury of looking a little closer into how this improper repair was done. So looks like they have thought about the fact that this surface here, being the threads of a screw, is much rougher than the bearing surface, the smooth bearing surface of the original part, rubbing against the plastic as that turns around, because they have gone to the trouble and used RTV to act as a cushion and maybe somewhat as a lubricant, but that's really inferior because that's softer, of course, than the plastic. But it does allow this to rotate rather freely for a short period of time. Just fell out. For a short period of time. And now that that fell out, you can see the amount of play in there. And you can see that this is going through the beginning stages of failure, because we've already got a crack starting there, and we also have a crack starting right here where my fingernail is. And I doubt they may have used a brand new part and made this repair, because they wouldn't have to remove the regulator, or they may have used the failed part, that's an example from the other side, if it wasn't in too bad a shape, and just ran a bolt through it. But either way, as you can see, between this crack here and that crack right there, this thing is beginning to fail, it's beginning to wear out. And I think I got this just in time. It's always better to repair things on your terms instead of the car's terms. You never know when that window might get stuck in one position and it'll start to rain. So you guys have already seen how this is done, but I think I might do something a little bit different. I never really videoed how to actually replace that. I just basically did a before and after shot, because that was the first time I've actually worked on these regulators. So I think I'll give you guys a little bit of a different perspective and show you guys exactly how I got this new part attached to the regulator arm. So let me go ahead and remove all of this stuff, and I'll be right back. Okay, I got the old part removed, the old regulator jaw removed from the end of the window regulator, and now that it's apart, you can sort of see how they used some of that RTV sealer to cover those threads to act as a lubricant and kind of a cushion, which I guess would last a little while, but that stuff is so soft, it just comes off in your hands. You can't get away from the fact that the rough threads of a screw aren't really conducive to a good bearing surface, and it's just going to cause the part to fail, which it did here. It's all cracked. So anyway, because this is a galvanized piece right here, and they had an angle grinder and to grind out that original part, I went ahead and took some of the metal protector and coated that surface to prevent any further corrosion. And I've already got the new part prepared and ready to go back in. I've got everything packed with lithium grease, because I'll never be able to get a chance to do this again unless this is off the car. And a little word about these parts. I got a whole big bag of the parts, but they're not all made to the same specifications, probably by different suppliers actually. So the end of this part is just a little bit too big to go through that hole. So if some of you guys watching this are doing your own repair like this, you might have to ream that hole out just a little bit to get that in there. But since I've got a whole bag of these things, I went ahead and found one that's going to slide in there perfectly without having to ream it out. And what we'll have to do is, just like a couple weeks ago, put that through there and pin that down with a hammer. And that's what I'll show you guys next. Okay, just like a couple weeks ago, I got a big bolt down here resting on the opposite end of the piece for support because I don't want to break the plastic. And what you want to do is get that centered up on that metal piece and kind of hold it steady with one hand and give it a few whacks with a hammer. Of course, not letting it slip because of all the grease. And that's all it takes. I didn't show you guys that last time, I just sort of went over it verbally. But here we go again. No damage to the opposite piece like last time. And we've got good rotation here, so it's not hammered down too much. And you can sort of see where this softer metal now is just kind of mushroomed out to provide a good fit. And I'm going to go ahead and hit that one more time with some metal protector. Let that set up, and I'll put this other piece back in, put this piece together. You can see some of the lithium grease in there. And I'll go ahead and lubricate the regulator gear just like last time. Get rid of some of this old dry grease, and then I'll bench test it just like last time with the battery, and then this part will be properly renewed and be ready to go back in the car. Well, now we have the finished product. Got the door all put back together, so let's see how this window works now. As before, I cleaned up the door panel and window and everything else, and I put a brand new switch in here because the old one was kind of sticking. So let's see how this works now. Nice and quiet. And the other thing that I did was I got the switches all replaced. Well, the one switch replaced that was failing right here for the same window that I worked on. And last but not least, went ahead and replaced this boot that was sticking out. So that's all proper like it should be now. And the main reason I did this was I wanted to lubricate the door check straps as well as replace this switch. Door check strap right there. So I went ahead and did all that, but I had to pull the door panel off anyway, and because that boot back there was disturbed, I had suspected that this door panel had been gotten into, and sure enough it has. And this is just about as good as it gets for a preemptive repair. I've got the contamination over here, is what I like to call it. This was the part that I just replaced today, And you can see the crack just starting to develop here and here from this non-OEM repair. It would have looked like this, which was done 2 weeks ago, where it finally failed. And I actually managed to find the repair orders for this car that dealt with these 2 regulator jaws. And they're over here. I just marked out the all the sensitive information from trying to protect the previous owner. So at 2007, about 145,000 miles, that's when the right rear jaw was replaced, which I did 2 weeks ago, and that was 127.50. And then 2009, the window lifter jaw for the left rear was done. That was 142.50. So a lot of money actually for this quote-unquote repair. So you add it all together, and it's around $270 for that kind of repair. It lasted quite a while actually, but it's just still not a good OEM repair. And where they're getting you is the labor. They're basically charging you the labor that it would take to do the proper repair, basically taking out the regulator and putting it back in, but then leaving the regulator in place and just using these bolts and screws. So that's where they're kind of cheating a little bit there. They charge by the hour basically, so rather than taking, you know, maybe an hour and a half to do that job, they probably took 15 minutes, but charged you for the full amount for the labor, for the improper repair. So it really does pay to try to do jobs yourself as best you can. That way you can do a good, proper OEM repair. And this car is still in its shakedown phase, I like to call it. And I'm kind of going through the various systems. I've only had it for less than a year, so I'm going through the various systems and replacing those parts that I find failing or starting to fail. And this window was definitely going to fail any time unexpectedly until I was able to preemptively repair it. And that's kind of the story with cars in general, and particularly used cars, is that they're kind of victims to the quality of the repairs. And over time, when you have repairs such as this going on, that tends to make the car a lot less reliable, a lot less enjoyable, and people tend to blame the manufacturer when it's actually the quality of the repair. And over time, these kinds of repair jobs sort of accumulate, these problems accumulate, until you know, you start feeling or getting the impression that the car is just a junker. You know, you have way too many problems with it. It's just giving you problems all the time. The windows keep failing every couple of years. You know, it really kind of boils down to what kind of quality of the repair you can do and how much time you can spend on it to get it back to OEM specs and have a much more enjoyable car by addressing a lot of these problems as they arise, instead of either letting them accumulate or repairing them improperly. So I hope this little story of the power window saga has helped a lot of you guys. If you've got a car like this, you know, a 380, 420, or 560 SEL, basically a W126 Mercedes, if you want to get into fixing some of these power window problems. The regulator jaw failure is a common failure on these cars. And of course the window switches as well, because I had 2 switch failures. I had that left rear switch on the bottom fail in the up position, had high resistance in the contacts. And then I had the switch right here get real sticky on me, actually. So I went ahead and replaced that as well. Not too bad of a job, but it really does provide, or make the car a lot more enjoyable to drive, to have all the body systems functioning like they should. So I hope this video helps you guys.